Mary had a little man. The fall. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Oh, everybody, Donald Trump was on Univision. You know, most dictators, stomp around and scream and yell, but they don't actually project like what they're going to do. Although I will say Hitler made a fortune in publishing with Mein Kampf. This guy, what? What did he get? Truth Social out of it? I mean, nothing. He got nothing. He's, listen, can I just nudge him and could I just tell him, you've already been found liable of fraud, running a fraudulent charity. That was one case. Another case, a fraudulent university. That was another case. Just recently, a fraudulent organization, a fraudulent business in New York. You have been found liable for sexually raping a woman. That was a jury trial. In New York, in Bergdorf Goodman. I mean, honestly, how could this possibly be the weaponization of anything? This is, I mean...
Love how Trump's like, what Biden's done is very bad, very corrupt. Well, would you do the same thing? Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, yes, because they've unleashed it, Because, if they've unleashed it, then, I have to unleash it more. I have to, have a extend a leash. I have to, let the leash out even more. This man is insane. Because here's another way to look at it, okay? And please put this in your permanent Rolodex for any arguments that may come up along the way. What in the world, what evidence does Donald Trump have against the people he says are enemies, which is everybody? Everybody that, won't vote for him is his enemy, right? But what evidence does Donald Trump have against General Mark Milley? These are the people he says he wants to prosecute, right? What evidence does Donald Trump have against John Kelly, his chief of staff? What evidence does he have? What evidence has he pointed to? What evidence has he invoked? What evidence has he written down, filed with the court that would say that General Kelly is somehow prosecutable for a crime? Like what crime? This is such garbagey stuff. This is such amazing stuff. But does anybody remember when Donald Trump actually issued Univision? He didn't want to have anything to do with Univision because Jorge Ramos worked there, and he had it was like a White House press briefing or something, and Jorge Ramos was at it, and Donald Trump was screaming at him and told him to get out, and so ever since then, Donald Trump has boycotted Univision. Probably because he has nothing to do with the word unity or vision. I don't know. But now all of a sudden he's, open to it. Why? Because it looks like he's gained some popularity with the Cuban community in Miami. Okay. Why? I have no idea. Can't you guys recognize a dictator when you see one? The man is literally talking about using the Justice Department to hunt enemies, to prosecute people against whom he has no evidence. Okay, that's fine. It's so sick. It's so sad. I mean, and now he went. They challenge elections in court. That is where you challenge the result of an election. First, you challenge it with the Secretary of State. You ask for a recount. Some states actually provide you with one if the difference between you and your competitor is less than 0.5 percentage point, and then it's an automatic recount. Then if you want another one, which is like what you did in Georgia, you have to pay for that, right? He had 3 counts in Georgia, 3 of them. None of them proved that he won. None of them. 11,890 votes, whatever it was the difference, right? And he kept on coming up with that same number. No matter how many recounts, they did. Then, if you really, really are still in the mood, you can go to court and you can have a court look at the way the election was conducted. or how the recount was conducted. Well, he did this in 60 different courts, 60. And not one of them ruled that he had presented any evidence of any fraud that would have resulted in a different result. That's where you challenge elections, Mr. America. I mean, he's sitting here telling us about our country. You've taken him. Has nothing to do with the fact that he sued Disney, okay, one of the biggest businesses that Florida has, because we're basically a tourist economy, okay? We're agricultural, the citrus thing is a real thing. Grapefruit oranges, where you guys, and tourism, Disney, okay, Hard Rock, great weather, snowbirds, okay? That is Florida. So you did it to him. He did it to him. Okay. The guy wore like thigh-high white boots and was not responsive in a hurricane. Okay. You didn't do anything to him. He opened up a mouth. He's got weird affects. He's got like some sort of Tourette's thing going on. He always looks like he's been snorting coke. He's got the 80s slide going on. And you did it to him. You made him Are you freaking This man is so full of himself that, honestly, you look at the word full of yourself. You look at, self-absorbed in the dictionary, and there's like an orange, nest of whatever that is. Hey, it's not hair. I did that to him. He's unpopular. No one wants to talk about you. No one wants to talk about you. Okay? We all understand that your party is scared of your supporters who are in some sort of a cult-like trance over you. Nobody wants death threats, and so nobody will stand up to this garbage that is, presenting itself as a genuine candidate while he's under indictment in 4 jurisdictions with 91 felonies. Holy crap.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Let's think about this. When my predecessor, the distinguished, anyway. When my predecessor was in office, 6 factories closed across the country.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of auto jobs were lost nationwide. And on top of that, he was willing to cede the future of electric vehicles to China. He said if America invested in electric vehicles, it would drive down wages. It would destroy jobs. It would spell the end of the American automobile industry. Well, like almost everything else he said, he's wrong. You have proved him wrong. Instead of lower wages, you want record gains. Instead of fewer jobs, you want a commitment for thousands of more jobs. Instead of less involvement and investment, you encourage American automakers to invest $40 billion in American auto industry beginning now. $40 billion. Yes. And then we're going to shut down. Remember my other guy?
Yeah, I do.
And here's the difference. When you're in the middle of a fight, I stood and others stood with you shoulder to shoulder on that picket line. Yep. My predecessor went to a non-union shop and attacked you.
Yes, they did! They didn't forget. That's really, that's amazing. So compare and contrast, will you please? So Biden is like a real president who really is on the side of labor. By the way, congratulations to the Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. They were able to get not only higher wages, like the best package that they've had in forever, but they also got the residuals for streaming, which was a big damn problem. And they also got a protection against artificial intelligence where you have to consult with somebody whose likeness it is you want to steal and replicate through either artificial intelligence or, through, animation or any way that you would like to steal their life. You have to now get permission from them and compensate them for use of their voice, for use of their likeness, for use of their person, place, or thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So everybody's winning now. It's like this is the so much winning that you were going to get so tired of winning. It's not. It didn't happen then. It's happening now. Every single union, UPS, the drivers, okay, the United Auto Workers, that's where he was yesterday, opening up a closed factory. That's what's going on at that particular thing yesterday. I mean, it's like, wow, real president.
I want to, and on that point, I just want to make a side point. Like, he's obviously aware of the criticisms of his speech and his mannerism, so he comes prepared with numbers, who, what, where. He sounds so much more coherent than his opposition, and that's their knock on him. He sounds so much more coherent.
Well, you know what's really interesting is, the knock on him is usually that he's corrupt if you're listening to Donald Trump, and if you're listening to everybody else, he's too old. He's ancient. He's elderly. He's a senior. Yes, true. And with that comes wisdom. With that comes a lifelong commitment to fill in the blank or not. Or not. Either somebody has spent their entire life fighting for unions and union wages and collective bargaining. Either somebody has spent their whole life arguing for that, or they haven't. And they go to non-union shops when the unions go out on strike and says, who needs the union? We got you people, which is what Donald Trump did. Now, Biden knows what the knock on him about his age is. He reads the polls. We all see it. I know that you would rather vote for, a stray dog than either one of these two. I think that's just pathetic because you do have a very high-performing president who, by the way, is all over this Netanyahu creature now. First of all, I got to tell you, there's so much going on in the back that you don't even see, that unless you read a newspaper, you would never know. But there are meetings happening. I don't know why it's Doha. It's always Doha. Doha. But that's where all the negotiations happen now. I mean, even the pullout of Afghanistan, Donald Trump had the Doha agreement, right? Said, I quit, give Afghanistan to the Taliban. I can't stand the, whatever. It is what it is. I don't want to be there anymore. We're going to draw down to 2,500, and I'm going to leave this for the next guy. See, this is what Milley said. This is what pissed him off so bad. This is why he wants to prosecute Milley, because Milley told the truth and said that Donald Trump knew he lost the election. And the proof of it was that Donald Trump said to General Mark Milley, leave Afghanistan's withdrawal to the next guy. Leave it to the next guy. Because he knew he had signed the Doha Agreement. He had given Afghanistan to the Taliban. And we were down to 2,000 troops, 2,500 troops on the ground. And he didn't feel like going through the withdrawal. He didn't want to do it. So he said, leave it to the next guy. So that shows two things. One, he didn't give a rat's ass about the soldiers he left there or the equipment he left there. Or, we left $80 billion. Yeah, no, Donald Trump left $80 billion because he left 2,500 troops there and left that issue to the next guy to get them out. And we all know what happened. Okay, so you had the fake president and now you got a real president, and they're 3 years apart, age-wise. But one spray tans to make himself look healthful or virile. Ugh. You think Melania has anything to do with his, no. I would be surprised if they're in the same state at the same time, okay? She got her money. She'll keep her mouth shut. But anyway, Biden understands the knock on him about his age because yesterday when he was at this auto factory that they're reopening, in northern Illinois, by the way, somebody fell.
American workers are ready to work harder than anybody else, but they just need to be given a shot, a fair shot and a fair wage. That's not too much to ask. You okay? I want the press to know that wasn't me.
I'm sorry, I still find him quick-witted. I still find him funny. I still find him charming. And on top of it all, he's effective as president of the United States. He gets more crap done in a day than Donald Trump did in 4 freaking years. Donald Trump is so big. Now, this idea of retribution, using his presidency to use the Department of Justice and the FBI to hunt down his enemies. And, he's talking about shutting down things like NBC, He's talking about shutting down things like CNN. Fake news, you know. He's talking about shutting down things like MSNBC. Swear to God. And he will actually go through the hosts at Fox News and get rid of any of them that report real news, that anchor newscasts, and just, I don't know, put Greg Gutfeld in charge of the Republican debates. The presidential debate, if he bothers to show up. This party is so ineffective at governing. It's pathetic, okay? We got 1 week to the day left for Congress to avert another government shutdown. And you know what, idiot boy, Mr. Covenant Eyes? You know about that story, right? No? Speaker Mike Johnson has an app that he shares with his 17-year-old son to monitor each other's porn use. Ew.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
This clip I will call How to Lose Florida.
How can the U.S. stop the killing of more innocent people, civilians, on both sides of that border?
So you have a war that's going on.
Bye, Florida. Bye-bye. It was nice while it lasted. That is it. That is the end of Donald Trump being able to win Florida, which he did do in 2020. He won Florida. You know that. So, no. Nobody hates Palestinians. No Jewish people hate Palestinians, except for maybe Benjamin Netanyahu, who is a right-wing extremist, a la Donald Trump, and is, being scorned by the entire world right now. Literally being scorned. You know, the president of the United States currently, the real one, the good one, the one that I like, the one that you should like, the one that you should at least respect, even if you don't agree with everything, like the Inflation Reduction Act. That would be bad, right? And it actually did reduce inflation. The Inflation Reduction Act has actually no chance of reducing inflation. Oh, okay. But you should respect at least Joe Biden's ability to understand what is going on in this world, where it benefits America and America's interests, and where it does not. And I will tell you right now that where it does not is with Benjamin Netanyahu's battle plan. Okay, our best interests and the interests of Germany, the interests of France, the interests of the UK, the interests of the United States, they are not being served by Benjamin Netanyahu. And you know how you know it? Last night, I don't know if you saw this or not, the Museum of Tolerance, they must have a section of the Museum of Tolerance called the Annex of Irony. Because at the Museum of Tolerance last night, people were so intolerant that they started to beat up on people who went to the Museum of Tolerance to view an installation, to view a movie that was requested to be put together by Gal Gadot. Do you know who she is? Wonder Woman. Remember? And the big thing about her was she was an Israeli actress, and she got this big job as the superhero Wonder Woman. People liked her as Wonder Woman. She was very good. She had asked the Museum of Tolerance, as an Israeli, if they would use all of their editing skills and put together Hamas's own filmed and recorded video of them committing 1,400 plus atrocities over a period of about 8 hours. And so the Museum of Tolerance decided that they would rise to the occasion and they would do that edit and they would show that edit. And it came out to be 43 minutes of absolute grotesque barbarity. And the reason why this had to be done and requested by an actress who played Wonder Woman is because Netanyahu sucks at so many things, like keeping Israel safe. Yeah, he failed. Now actually using precision-guided munitions in order not to kill thousands of children and civilians. He sucks at that. He's literally pounding, we saw it. We understand that there are choices to be made. And what I say, they probably presented him with a plethora of battle plans, and he chose the most brutal one. And it's having an enormous amount of blowback. And the blowback is happening against American Jews and German Jews. You know that anti-Semitism is up, incidents of anti-Semitism in Germany is up. There were 2,000 incidents, 2,000 of them. I don't know if you know this. Here's a little, a piece of historical information. You might like this kind of thing. Yesterday, November 9th, was 85 years on November 9th, 1938. That was a pogrom, which is just a terrorist activity. It's an act of extreme violence against Jews. That's what a pogrom is. Pogrom. Pogrom. Okay, and those things kept happening all over Eastern Europe, beginning in the 1890s. That's why we had this big thing with a lot of immigration happening in the early 1900s, coming here, going to Germany, going to Poland, getting safe, getting out of Belarus, getting out of Russia. Yeah, pogroms. So anyway, there was a really big one in 1938 in Germany. It was called Kristallnacht. And what it was not just the breaking of glass, which is what most Americans know about it if they know anything about it. No, but it was also the killing of Jews. About 85 of them were slaughtered. And the setting on fire, yes, of temples, synagogues. And one of the the main one that was just, bombed to smithereens during Kristallnacht was painstakingly rebuilt over a very long period of time, many, many years, and it finally opened in 2014. That's how long it took, okay? So in 2014, I think its name is Beth Zion, opened for, people to actually come and pray or come and see. And then 3 weeks ago, it was firebombed. In an act of anti-Semitism. And so this is having an enormous amount of blowback, all of this hatred of Israel, which is being perpetrated by lots of people of various persuasions, mostly, I don't even want to go there. You know where it's coming from. And it's actually creating an enormous environment of anti-Semitism to the point where here in America, you're seeing people rip down the pictures of kidnapped children because they can't be on the side of Hamas. They can't be on the side of terrorists if they see evidence of what the terrorists took, like elderly people and children and brothers and sisters, on post. So they have to get rid of that because that hurts their head to hold that thought in their head, right? But yesterday was the 85th anniversary of Kristallnacht, and in Germany, the level of anti-Semitism is through the roof. And the Prime Minister over there had to give a speech saying how ashamed he is of what he's seeing happen in Germany. And it's an amazing thing to see that actually turn into violence at the Museum of Tolerance. That's how bad it's getting. Like, how do you go to the Museum of Tolerance and they're showing a 43-minute video of atrocities that were committed by a terrorist organization, and your attitude is, no way, I'm going to put up with that? It's the Museum of Tolerance.
Clear. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Breaking news. This is video just in from Air 7 HD as violence erupts just across the street from LA's Museum of Tolerance. The museum tonight hosting a screening of the film Bearing Witness, which contains extremely graphic and violent footage of the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. Tonight's violence broke out at the corner of Pico and Roxbury. Air 7 HD overhead as two groups of people clashed, and a number of people appeared to have been pepper sprayed during this confrontation. Police quickly moving in, taking some people into custody, and then forming a skirmish line as they tell people to leave the area and go home. A few moments ago, Mayor Karen Bass tweeting about the violence, saying, quote, "We cannot allow current worldwide tension to devolve into this unacceptable violence on our city. This is a time of immense pain and distress for thousands of Angelenos. We must stand together."
A fight at the Museum of Tolerance. I mean, that is what this war has turned us into. An Onion headline. That's what we've devolved into, and I mean, it's a very obvious Onion headline: fight at the Museum of Intolerance at the Museum of Tolerance, in the annex of irony. I mean, honestly, I just either that or like people thought, oh, that looks like real blood. This is totally interactive. This is ugly. This is awful. This has got to stop. This is insane, okay? And you know why it's like that? First of all the footage coming out of this war, and it is a war, started by a terrorist group that for hours sent 2,500 plus terrorists across a border into Israel, okay? And for hours was allowed to chop off body parts, was allowed to kidnap young women, was allowed to execute people in their cars on a highway, was parading through a concert, like a dance thing, a rave at 6:30 in the freaking morning, taking elderly women hostage, raping people for fun, filming it and streaming it online, okay? That's what started this. But, memories fade. It's been a month. Are we supposed to remember this? When we discuss the aftermath, are we supposed to remember this when we're looking at pictures of, or videos of babies being pulled out of rubble? Yes, you're supposed to remember this, because what did the terrorist group think was going to happen? What did they think the result of their activities would be? They knew, and they brought this on their own freaking people. They did it on purpose. And when they were asked recently, yesterday, in the New York Times, they said, well, what was the point of it? Like, what did you want to get at? You know what, the head of these groups, first of all, half of them aren't even there. Some of them are in Qatar. They're in Doha, for God's sake. Okay? But the ones that were reached for comment, oh my God, terrorist groups have PR people now. They said, we want perpetual war. We don't want to govern this area. We don't care about our people are martyrs. They know they're martyrs. We raised them to be martyrs. Okay? They will tell you that they're martyrs. Some of the older ladies will tell you that they were pleased to have offered their children as martyrs, that their children used to kiss their hands and tell them, oh, all I ever want to be is a martyr. I want to martyr myself. And the grandma would say, I would tell them, Inshallah, if God wills it, then you'll get your wish. I mean, it's sick. It's a sick culture, okay? But they wanted perpetual war. They don't want to govern. They don't want any responsibility for these people. They say that we were never responsible for these people. These people are refugees from 75 years ago, and the UN should take care of them. Well, the UN does take care of them, and I can't tell you how many, like 20 plus UN workers. UNRWA is the name of the group over there, the UN group that, tends to their health needs and tends to their, clinics and stuff. About 20 of them have been killed because Netanyahu is a dolt. He's a brute. He's Donald Trump. I can't explain it any more succinctly than that. And yes, there are choices. Listen, you want to war is war. They started this war. They wanted this war. And I'm telling you, Iran and all their proxies, they're trying to pull us, America, into this war too. That's why there's been 41 attacks, on our soldiers, on our troops that are stationed throughout the region. they've been, minor. Like so far, thank God nobody's died. But, people, if you're outside and somebody drops one of these rockets, you're going to, you can get a concussion just by being near it. You don't have to be struck by it. If you get struck by it, you're dead. But if you're near it, you could have a concussive, event. Anyway, so we took a shot at one of the ammunition depots, because we're not Netanyahu. Biden is not. He's not that stupid. But, Netanyahu does have a choice. He could use satellite-guided, precision, lighter bombs. I know that sounds like ridiculous to people who are so super pro-peace that you never even learned about war. You don't even want to know about war. That's kind of sad. You should know what you're against, shouldn't you? Just wondering. But, there are 250-pound bombs that are precision-guided, that are, guided by satellites, that are, aimable, that are programmable. Yes, it's the 21st century. But he's not doing that. He's dropping these 2,000-pound dumb bombs on freaking refugee camps. And why they're refugees, I have no idea. But that is how their government, their terrorist government, treats them, like they are not citizens of any place, like they don't belong to that government. That's not their government's responsibility to take care of them, to feed them, to house them, to shelter them. No, that's the job of the United Nations. And they've said that. I played that for you yesterday. But it's causing so much hatred in this world for Israelis, for Jews, and it's evident everywhere you turn now. They're fighting at the Museum of Tolerance. I don't know how else to tell it to you. I thought that was so illustrative of the situation that we are in, that we didn't make. We didn't make this situation, okay? We didn't cause it. And it's not ours to, uncause or to solve. But the part that we do play is the part that Biden is playing. And that is, I don't know if you know this, the CIA, the head of the CIA, Mr. Burns, the head of Mossad, and the Qatari prime minister in Doha, they all are meeting, okay, right now on the parameters for a deal to get the hostages released. This after the Biden administration, we have Anthony Blinken. Anthony Blinken has done a spectacular job. Jake Sullivan, the entire defense team, the Joint Chiefs, Austin, and what's his name, Q. Okay, we got Q now. Q's with us.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah, the Joint.
We're peeling them off. Cohen, Barr, now Q.
We got
Q.
Q.
Off.
Yeah, they're all in meetings over there trying to. First of all, they negotiated the 4-hour pauses every day, the 4-hour pauses in hostilities, so that, and yesterday was the first one, and 50,000 people were able to use it and get out. Now, of course, that tells you something. That tells you that Netanyahu really didn't want to spare civilians, because he wouldn't agree to. We had to actually negotiate for that. Okay, so 50,000 got out of northern Gaza and made it to the south, because now they felt that they had some cover, that they could move and they could get out of the way. And they took that opportunity, and they did. They left. And we're doing that every day now. Why? Humanitarian aid in 100 trucks a day now are going in, which is almost normal. People are going south, protected, under a ceasefire for 4 hours a day. And now everybody who is anybody who gives a damn about peace is meeting in Doha to negotiate the release of hostages, which, by the way, yesterday, I don't know if you know this, Islamic Jihad, not Hamas, Islamic Jihad, who was the group responsible for the bombing of the hospital that started this whole blowback, because Hamas is very good at the internet. They're very good at social media. They're very good at PR. I mean, when you see all these photographs, when you see all these videos that are posted online, they're all coming from Hamas, all of them. And you know what's very interesting? There are no dead Hamas fighters in any of these videos. No, they're all civilians. Isn't that something? as if they don't have rockets, they don't have mortars, they don't have, Kalashnikovs. That's bullcrap. They fight like a military. They fight like an army. People in this country think, oh, well, everybody's unarmed. Oh, bullcrap. But you never see them dead. All you see is dead civilians. It's very interesting because they're very good. They're very good at messaging. Also, Netanyahu sucks at messaging.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Your own, I don't get it. There's no reason to be doing this. Why don't you just put up your own? I actually don't understand. Why do you have to rip their innocent children? Oh, but that's free. What's your school? Bro, where did you just me? It just makes no sense. Why are you putting it down?
You don't want people to know? You don't want people to know that you ripped down innocent people that are kidnapped?
They're not fake. These are real people.
Because it's really...
It's a mental illness. It really is. It's a mental illness. People are so full of rage and hate. And now people, who are in charge of the messaging of this war have stepped up to the plate and messaged that this war started by a terrorist organization is actually the victim. And people are ripping down the actual victims' photographs because they are mentally ill with rage. And now they have, the terrorist organization is very good at focusing people on hate and rage. I mean, they get their own people to sacrifice their own children. You know that, right? You understand that suicide bombers is a thing in an intifada. And you know what, this terrorist organization and its affiliates, like Islamic Jihad, that actually it was an errant missile of Islamic Jihad that blew up the hospital. And instead of taking the credit for it, as terrorists do, they sat quiet and let the rumor fly around the world, the lie. And you know that saying, how a lie can make it around the world, in a second, but it takes the truth 150 days. So the lie got spread around the world that Israel had bombed a hospital, and because it's Benjamin Netanyahu, people believed it. People actually believed it, but it wasn't. It was Islamic Jihad. Well, Islamic Jihad put out a hostage video yesterday of a young boy and a grandma, okay? And that was the end of it. They just put out the hostage video and said, okay, we got two of them. So you have Hamas that has hostages, you have Islamic Jihad that has hostages, and now we're hearing also that you have civilians in Gaza who took hostages too, took them in. And they have hostages. And now, we have to have a negotiation to see where the hostages are and to get the hostages released in order to get a ceasefire. I mean, this is so sick. This is so twisted. It is so bad. It is so amazing. And it's all because Benjamin Netanyahu is so bad at his job. And I know it's hard to believe. There are people in this country that still think that Donald Trump was and would be a good president. He is so bad at his job. The man is such a betrayal of everything that we stand for: law, rule of law, protecting our secrets and the people who gather them for us so that we can keep ourselves safe at night. I mean, now the guy is on trial and he's, they weaponized. This is all bullcrap. Yeah, bull. So you know who's going to testify against him? And you got the documents trial in D.C. on March 4th. March 4th. They're going to have plumbers that worked at Magaloco. They're going to have the pool guy at Magaloco. I saw yesterday Secret Service guys from Magaloco are going to testify against Donald Trump and what he did with this the Iranian war plans, which, by the way, there was a war plan for Iran, which obviously is something that people are studying right now to see how would we respond to an Iranian attack. Holy crap. You know, this is really, really seriously dangerous. But Netanyahu is just as bad at his job. He has been so pathetic at, he was an I alone can fix it guy too. He was only I can keep you safe, only I. And he failed. And he failed so miserably. And why did he fail? Because he was very busy dismantling democracy in Israel for his own benefit. For his own benefit, because he was also indicted for fraud and bribery. And so he was taking apart the court system there. Now, you know what's so fascinating is we have issues with our court system here too. Not in the way that Donald Trump wishes you to believe, that the court's been weaponized or the Department of Justice. But no, in that we have a court, the highest court, the biggest, baddest court in the United States, the Supreme Court, that's on the take and refuses to have a code of ethics that applies to them, where every other judge in the United States has to abide by a code of ethics, but not them. Not them. And so here we were, trying to get them to show up and tell us what they are for, as far as, could Alito please come and could he testify? Could John Roberts, the chief, could he come and say whether, how far he was willing to, subscribe to a code of ethics? Like, would they ever submit themselves to a code of ethics like every other court in the entire justice system of the United States has to? And he won't voluntarily come and testify. So we were thinking Dick Durbin, and, Sheldon Whitehouse. This is my Sheldon right here. Sheldon Whitehouse, they were mulling the idea of subpoenaing some of the big donors who purchased homes for Clarence Thomas, purchased RVs for Clarence Thomas, paid for the education of Clarence Thomas's nephew. Maybe a hedge fund guy who, gave money to Alito. Maybe they would come and they would, show what they gave. Maybe they would come and they would put it all out in the open. They would be transparent about how much money they were spending on Supreme Court justices' needs, wants, hopes, and dreams. But now they've killed the idea. I mean, the country is going down the toilet in favor of a dictatorship. Donald Trump sat there on Univision, of all places, a Spanish language channel that is shown throughout Latin America, saying that he wanted to make us into a dictatorship because he said he was willing to weaponize the Department of Justice and the FBI in order to go after people he perceives as his enemy without, and the host, Acevedo, his name is Enrique Acevedo, he didn't ask the follow-up question, which is, what is your evidence? What is your evidence against your perceived enemies? What is it that you intend to present to a court? What is it that you intend to present to open up an investigation? No, all he's interested in is taking down the wall that is between law enforcement in this country and the presidency, taking down the wall that is between justice, the administration of it, and the presidency. He wants to take that down and make all prosecutions political, which is something we don't do in America. It's something that Netanyahu is trying to do in Israel. And people were out on the street, hundreds of thousands of people were out on the street protesting him before this all happened. And now he feels, unchained, unrestrained? What word would you use for using 2,000-pound bombs on, an inordinate amount of civilians gathered, even if there was underneath that settlement, that neighborhood? It is a neighborhood. They call it a refugee camp, but it's a neighborhood. It's been there for 75 freaking years. Even if there was a tunnel or a Hamas, a command post underneath it, why would you use a 2,000-pound dumb bomb when your sophisticated military has other choices like precision-guided 250-pound, or where the the hole is to get into the tunnel, why don't you put some tear gas in there? Smoke them out. You know what I'm saying? He's unrestrained now. He feels no obligation to do the right thing.
Thanks, Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Okay, this is really sad, and this is really brutal, okay? And this is in Arabic, but it does have English subtitles. This is a grandma, a Palestinian grandma, who is on TV. It's called Memory, okay? It's a TV channel in this area. And she is very typical of a lot of the grandmas and moms who are very happy to see their sons martyred. I'm not kidding.
اللي ما إله شهيد ما إله وطن واللي ما إله أسير ما إله كرامة. إحنا بدنا نجاهد لأجل فلسطين لأجل أرضنا. والله دم شهدائنا 65 حفيد عندي و17 ولد. والله إني بفديهم لأجل فلسطين والأقصى على قلبي زي العسل. هذول فدا الوطن. أنا قلت لهم يا أحفادي ولأولادي أنتوا فدا الوطن. أنا جبكم للوطن.
She sounds like the NRA. She really does. The price for freedom is dead children. So that's what she's saying there. She's saying, that she has 17 children and 65 grandchildren. First of all, what? That wombs with views, everybody. I mean, they must be stretched so thin that you could see through these wombs already. But anyway, okay, so she's sitting there saying that she's got 65 grandchildren, and she would be happy if all of them were martyred for the sake of Palestine, right? She's saying that those who don't have martyrs in their families have no honor. Those who have no martyrs in their families have no homeland. And this is the price that she's willing to pay and that we all must pay, she says, for our land, for our homeland, okay? And, this is something that you hear often in that part of the world. It's something unthinkable to us. It's not culturally something that crosses our minds unless you are the National Rifle Association. And then when you see a bunch of dead sixth graders or 6-year-olds, first graders, you say, well, that's the price that we pay for peace. That's the price that we have to pay for our guns. It's the price that we have to pay to be free, whatever. Dead children. It is a very sick thought, but it is one that is creeping into our culture in the gun realm, because we heard it since 2012, okay? But this is something that is very much part of the culture in the Mideast, okay? It is. It's something that's very much a part of why there are so many children, what they're being raised to do. And the idea that if you don't have a martyr in your family, you're less than. You're not a good grandma. I mean, when you're dealing with people like that, and you are dealing with people like that, you have to actually give them an alternative. And the idea that bombing them is all that you're offering is not going to cut it. You think that we got a cult-like atmosphere in this country because we got a guy who lies, we got a guy who's a fraud, we got a guy who's adjudicated guilty over and over and over again of everything from sexual assault to running illicit charities and universities that are fake and a business that is all a sham, right? Everything about that business was a sham. You know what's so interesting? That, poor Ivanka, she had to say, I just don't recall any of this. I don't remember a thing about it. I don't know what you're talking. And she, of course, was negotiating with the only bank that would lend to them anymore. And it was the German bank, Deutsche Bank. That's the only bank that would lend to the Trump family anymore. And so they wanted to charge the Trumps 9% interest, 9% interest to borrow money. And she was negotiating with Deutsche Bank on that interest rate. That was her job. That's what she was doing. And they said, well, you're going to have to prove that you're worth $3 billion, and then we'll discuss, making the loan. And you have to personally guarantee the money you're borrowing. You have to put your own, assets on the line. You can't just, do it as an LLC or whatever, or as a pass-through, one of the millions of pass-throughs. And she said in an email, when she was confronted with the fact that she doesn't remember doing any of this, they presented her emails where she said, saying that we're worth $3 billion or proving that we're worth $3 billion and guaranteeing loans of $3 billion with our own personal, that's going to be hard to do. They confronted her with this email. Still, I don't know. It was so long ago. I just don't know. Because they were never worth that kind of cash. They were never worth that kind of money. Their assets, people think that Donald Trump owns Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. He doesn't own Trump Tower. His name is on it. It's a licensing thing. He owns there are stores inside on the ground floor and downstairs. I think it's downstairs. There's a restaurant that serves, overcooked hamburgers and very, overpriced drinks. That's what he owns. And that's all he owns. And he owns the apartment upstairs. He owns the triplex, which he lied about. Okay. He said it was worth like 30 times what it was worth. Because it was 10,000 square feet, which is a lot. That's a mansion. We've gone over this. But they said it was worth, 30 times that it was 30,000 square feet, which it isn't. And then, Magaloco. People are like, well, Magaloco, that's a nice... Magaloco is restricted use. It is a portion of Palm Beach. It was built by Marjorie Merriweather Post of the cereal heiress. And it has now been zoned to be a club. It is restricted use. You can't sell it as a home because you couldn't use it as a home. That's why he's got quarters there, okay? He's got like a hotel room that he uses there for his residence there. And that brings the value down by a lot because it's restricted. Anyway, that guy is, and people are like committed to him in this cult-like manner. And the only thing you can do with people like that, you can't talk them out of it. You can't tell them. I saw a video today. I don't even want to play because it was very long and the answers weren't so pithy. But they were talking to a lady who actually represented, I think it was the Young Turks sent a guy on the street, a man on the street thing, to say, what will you do if Trump loses? And she said, I would rather be dead. And she was serious. I would rather be dead. Because she said, who wants to live in this country if Trump's not the president? Look at how the country has gone down the tubes. Are you kidding me? We're at like 5% GDP. We're at the lowest unemployment repeatedly for quarter after quarter for the longest stretch in the history of the United States. There are 10 million available good-paying jobs. Wages are going up exponentially because the union movement in this country is strong again. Inflation has come down so much, but I get that it's still more than it was 5 years ago. And people want 5 years ago to be the cost of things. Well, it's not going to be. But, here were the Democrats with two ideas to bring prices down. One was an anti-gouging bill. No, Republicans said, no, let them be gouged. Let them get angry, because that's all they know. And the other one was the windfall profits tax. Anybody remember that? That was Elizabeth Warren's brilliant idea, where if last quarter you did X amount and this year, the same quarter, it's like exponentially through the roof because you raised prices and you got a windfall profit out of that. Well, now you pay an additional tax. That might tamp it down. No, the Republicans, no, let them suffer. Let them hate. Let them get so cult-like that they sacrifice their children.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Okay, this is Boca Raton, Florida yesterday. Okay, these are Jewish and Palestinian protesters fighting each other in Boca.
Hey! What's up? Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up?
Oh, my God.
just spit on me. That's all.
Now, ask yourself this. This is Boca Raton, Florida, okay, where usually you see that kind of activity at the Publix deli counter, okay? Now, Florida, remember, everybody's allowed to have a gun, number one. So what could go wrong with this? Number two, ask yourself this question. Do you think any of this would actually be occurring if it wasn't for social media? Do you? Do you think anybody would be reacting to the social media postings of a terrorist organization in this manner if it wasn't for social media? I say no. And you know, the idea that the messaging is all being done by a terrorist organization is so evident. It is so observably true. The Israelis, I don't know, he's so bad at so many things. He really is. He's so bad at so many things. But the idea that a terrorist organization is literally beating him, kicking his ass in social media. I mean, they thought that they could put this guy, Jonathan Capricus or whatever his name was, as a spokesperson, and he would do all the talking and he would explain all the operation and everything, and that's all they needed to do. That's insane. That is insane in today's world, okay? Everything that has happened in this country that is violent, everything that is happening in this country that is organized violence is happening because of an online organizing principle, okay? And the videos that are being shown to people they are brutal. They are unbelievable. And you don't see, unless you're hanging out on Reddit, right? You have to really go hunting for, if you want to see, I suggest you don't. It's really hard to watch. But if you wanted to see what happened on October 7th in Israel to innocent people who were literally sleeping or dancing at 6:30 in the morning, you have to go look for it. But if you just go anywhere on social media, I don't care what you use TikTok. TikTok is the worst. That is, and Twitter's become a cesspool, okay? The algorithms on Twitter are all for hatred. They're all, like, anybody who clicks on anything that has any violence in it is going to get inundated with tons and tons and tons of anti-Semitic, messages and violence and brutality and dead babies and all kinds of, ravages of humanity are going to be presented to you ad nauseum. And there's no, there's absolutely no, and even here in regular media, people are, covering this very one-sidedly. People have picked a side and are advocating for their side and not talking about anything else. And that's a disservice to all of us as well. That also increases the amount of hatred, especially if the side that you are against is Netanyahu, and you only talk about the damage being done to the Palestinian people, and you don't talk about the damage that's being done to the Israelis, and you don't talk about the blowback of anti-Semitism in Germany or anti-Semitism in the UK, or this idea, and this is really the crux of it, that the terrorist organization known as Hamas has gotten so sophisticated in the marketing of its message, and its message has been the same for years and years and years, like 20 plus years. And that is, you must die for them. You have to have a larger view of what your life is. And the larger view says that you are part of a society that's broken. And in order to repair it, you have to commit to dying for the reparation. You have to commit to dying for the repair of your society. And if you are willing to do that, and if you as mothers are willing to create more people, just create them, more people who are being raised in this culture of society being bigger than motherhood, society being more worthy than your mother's love is, and raising children to understand that they have to, that there is a significant purpose to their life, and the significant purpose to their life is dying for their culture. And that is something Trump is trying to harness too. And that's why we say it's a cult, because cults always die for the dear leader. And what the dear leader is required to sell to these people is the idea that they're hopeless, and the idea that the only thing that can fix it is loyalty to the dear leader, and that what you will get for sacrificing your life is a better life in the next life. That's what all cult leaders preach, that this life isn't really the most important one. If you sacrifice for him, and it's almost always a him, if you sacrifice for him in this life, you will be rewarded in paradise, right? You will be rewarded in the next life. The next life will bring you riches, and in the case of Islam, it'll bring you 72 virgins, and your family will get protected by the terrorist. Your family will get some money, your family will get support, your family will go to the bakery, and the bakery will know to give your family bread ahead of everybody else. That's what Donald Trump is trying to sell, okay? And it's really obvious. It's really self-evident when you hear people say things like, if Donald Trump isn't elected, I would rather be dead. And when you see that terrorist organizations have such a organizing ability that the whole world now, the whole world, in a matter of 30 days, is out on the streets either tearing down posters of kidnapped people or out on the streets screaming for the terrorists' principles. And the terrorists themselves aren't protecting the people that the protesters think they're protesting for. The terrorists have no interest in ordinary Palestinians. They have no interest. They have no responsibility for them. They think that the UN is responsible to take care of them. And they are telling the people that their lives need to be sacrificed to perpetuate this struggle that they want to continue ad nauseum, because it's been going on a long, long time, this self-sacrifice thing. I mean, every single day, when you're fed nothing but anger and resentment, this is the result. And this is what Donald Trump is selling. Anger and resentment. What do you think could happen?
It's the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Oh, this will be fun. Gary in Florida.
How you doing?
Good.
Hey, Rand, I have a question for you. How do you guys think in this your little world that this country is better off with Joe Biden in charge? This man is so brain dead.
Yeah.
He is dumb. I think Joe Biden, I think Barack Obama is running this country, but this country is better off with Donald Trump. Know why? Seriously, because we had the lowest, everything low. Border was secure.
Everything low and a secure border. Okay. That happened.
Guess what, though? I tell you, this border is so bad.
This border is always been bad. We have never done jack crap about it.
Yeah, it's never been this bad before.
Do you want to know what the answer is?
What planet do you live on? What planet do you live on? Seriously.
Planet 1.
Yeah, I want to know what planet you live on. Because you don't live in America.
Can I talk to you?
No, because you're...
No? Okay, well, if I can't talk
Randy,
to you.
that's the good stuff, straight to the veins, man. That
What?
really... Oh, just that level of stupidity plus cult-like devotion to Trump just to come on here. And...
I just wanted to know if I could talk to him, and he said no.
Oh, no, I know. No, I know. You got to do what you got to do, but I got to be honest. I love that noise right there.
Well,
That's
our listeners don't, Brett. They don't.
Oh, I don't
they
know
don't
about
like
that.
it.
I don't know about
You know how
that.
many emails I get going, why did you give that guy so much time? Do you have any idea?
You
People
gotta
don't
give 'em
want to
time.
hear it. They don't want to hear the cult. Okay? They know that the border has never been secure. What I was going to tell them is that the answer to securing the border is immigration reform. What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, on my planet, it means that you have to change the asylum rules, okay? Because you have to understand that the people that are coming here because they're fleeing something, okay? And if what they're fleeing is war, or what they're fleeing is, threats against their lives or their children's lives, then they get to apply for asylum. But if they're coming here simply because they're poor, they shouldn't be able to apply for asylum. That would go a really long way to stemming the immigration infusion that we get every single fall after the hot summer months are over. Because crossing the desert when it's 150 degrees is a little hard to do. But you can't talk to him. He wants to know what planet I'm on. I would like to know what universe you're operating in. Because in your universe, problems don't have solutions. That is by design. It's to keep you aggravated, to keep you angry. What do you think will come of that? People don't want to hear him rattle off garbage.
Well, no, they want to hear you address him. Now, he made it untenable. Clearly, he wasn't going to shut up. But I wish he would have, so you guys could have a little back and forth. I think that's some of the best stuff in doses when you dissect their nonsense on air.
Craig in Oregon.
Hi, Randy. I want to thank Brett because, he might be a closet genius for that because he sort of made my point for me.
Which is? What is your point?
Oh, my point is that I wanted to level set and take a look at what's happening in the world within Israel and Hamas and use that as a template to provide introspection. I think we as Americans don't like to take what's happening in the world with current events and apply it to what's happening here because American exceptionalism and whatever else, right? I think
if you give up, if we give up on American exceptionalism, it will look like the Trump administration. Okay.
Oh, totally. But what I fear is happening in the U.S. is that we're becoming so polarized with MAGA, with the Tea Party, with the two-party system is becoming so fractioned that we're at this sort of cusp. We're at this tipping point. We're at a boil over where we could see this political violence overtake this country.
Isn't that what Biden is trying to tell you over and over again? Is that we're on an inflection point? We're at a fork in the road, and either we stick with a messy democracy or we go to dictatorship.
I totally get it. But I think looking at what's happening in Israel and Palestine, people would say, well, they've been fighting over this land for thousands of years, and we didn't start the fire like Billy Joel, and it's their fault, and then somebody. But yeah, absolutely. Palestinians would say Israel drew first blood, and they shouldn't live there. And
Israel
say,
was the victim of one of the most grotesque terror attacks I've ever seen, heard about, read about, knew about. This was just barbarism.
Sure, but this has been going on for
this hasn't been going on.
Form.
No, it hasn't.
Absolutely, and for thousands of years before.
No, it hasn't been going on for thousands of years. Okay, here's the thing. Here's a little bit of world history. Okay, so that land that everybody thinks we've been fighting over forever. That land was under Turkish control. It was part of the Ottoman Empire from like 1500 until 1930. Turkey. And then after Turkey went to war and the Brits actually won and beat back the Ottoman Empire, these were the two colonizing nations of the universe. Then that piece of land went to the British, and the British didn't want it. And so they said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to divide it. We're going to divide it into a land for Jews and a land for Palestinians. And then they neglected to do that.
And both parties felt like they were robbed of some of the land that they thought they rightfully owned.
The original sin. No. Both parties did not feel like they were robbed. The Arabs felt like they were robbed because the British reneged on a promise to deliver a homeland for Arabs. They never did it. And then they just walked away. The Brits just walked away from it. And they left it just sitting there. And so all of a sudden, the idea of this land belonging to the Jews became a thing because of the Balfour Agreement. The Balfour Agreement was 1917, okay? That is when this particular struggle started. 1970. It hasn't been thousands of years. That is just ridiculous. That just makes no sense. But everybody likes to say it because it makes it so complicated and so ingrained. No, it's been going on for about 100 years, okay? And really, that went on was finally the Brits said to the Arabs, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to partition this way. Will you agree to it? And the Arabs said no. Every time there's been a peace deal, every time, whether it was Rabin, whether it was Sadat in Egypt, every time there was an agreement, the Arabs said no. They have consistently and constantly said no. They will not accept any agreement ever, never. Hamas is not looking for a two-state solution. Hamas is looking for a one-state solution, Palestine. That's what from the river to the sea means. No more Israel, no 7 million Israelis. Done. They're all exterminated. Bye-bye. Netanyahu is part of that crowd in this way. He doesn't believe in a two-state solution either. He wants one-state Israel. And all the Palestinians, in Gaza, well, they don't count, 2 million of them, because Hamas has abused them so badly that all they want to do is die. And that's kind of true. And that's what's going to happen to MAGA, too. It's all they're going to want to do is die. That's what all this hatred, anger, aggravation, constant, belief that you lost something that you never had. That's what it leads to. Now, on the West Bank, I'll agree. See, the West Bank, this is where you know Netanyahu's not into a two-state solution because the West Bank is not part of this, Hamas thing. And in the West Bank, you have people who accept Israel as a two-state solution to their lot in life. They're good. But Israel won't accept it. And so Israel goes into the West Bank and kills people or tells them, your house has been deemed by the Archaeological Society of Israel as a historic site and you must leave. And they do it all the time. Now, ever since this Gaza thing, they're killing Palestinians in the West Bank. The settlers are. Now, who are the settlers? They're MAGA. They're extremists. They're right-wing extremists. And that is what's going on over there. Well, it's been going on for thousands of years. And is it? No. No. All right, Brother David, I'm just going to conclude with you. I'm going to wish you a happy weekend.
A happy weekend to you, sister. As I said to the chat room, hi, chat room, you've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. Turn off social media. Biden-Harris 2024, start seeing the blue tsunami. We must put ourselves where we must be because we are at the tipping point. It is that simple.
There's no question. There's no question. Fear, anger, hatred, all of this stuff is being not just taught, but insisted upon by their dear leader. And that's what terrorists do. It is what autocrats do. It's what terrorists do. I can see it. I can see it.
We're off Monday.